Hello, my name is Salahuddin. This is my reflection for the course AAE 23L on Analyzing Text. My reflection will outline what I will be discussing today. After the completion of this module, I could apply some of these tools that I've learned to my English classroom. I will also be discussing into details on how I will use some of these tools in my lower primary classroom. The topic that I will look into will be on visual analysis. This is most relevant in lower primary classroom, which I have taught for quite some time. Why did I choose visual analysis? This is because I would want the pupils to make connections through the different images that they will see in their big book reading, which I will explain a little bit more later. And also, I will be able to hear different views from different pupils and on how they make their connections. How can I apply visual analysis in my classroom? In my lower primary classroom, in my P2 or P3s, it can be used at the start of every new topic. This can be done when the teacher introduces to a new big book when we want to start on a new topic or theme. So what is big book reading? In primary school, especially for P1 and P2s, the English department will use the stellar resources provided to do our daily teaching of English. In this stellar resources, the big book is included as part of the English teaching, where teachers and pupils will engage in storytelling and discussion together. Every teaching term, there will be 5 books to cover, and in each book, we can take up to 2 weeks to teach the pupils. Teachers will always start the topic by reading the big book. Then, after spending 2 days discussing the stories, teacher will then start to teach other English components such as grammar, vocabulary, phonics, and others. They will refer to the big book as a context. For example, this is what a school's typical scheme of work will be like. There is the big book reading, there is the vocabulary component and grammar component to cover, and then there's also the shared book approach Day 1, SBA for short. This is where the big book reading will happen. These are some examples of the big books that the P2s and the P3s will have. In the big book, there are colorful illustrations and text for them to refer to. This is where teachers and students will discuss on the pictures and how to make connections. So where does visual analysis come in? For the lower primary, we will use the SBA approach, where the teacher will ask them questions and prompt them to interpret the picture. This part is where the simple visual analysis are applied. During the big book reading, teachers are given guidelines, as you can see here. In the guidelines, there are questions to help them with the scaffolding questions. It will come in when the teacher asks questions about pupils on the image and illustration. In a lower primary classroom, this is called the SBA approach. As you can see from the guideline questions, they may not include things like the font size or the size of the image. Teachers may need to consider some of these questions about visual modality, like the fonts or the color. This is where visual analysis comes in. But we cannot expect the children to be able to think about visual modality or the salience of the images on their own. Since teachers are the main facilitator, we can continue to guide them using the questioning technique through this SBA approach and ask them to refer to the visual illustrations to make connections. I will give you an example of how the questioning technique will be done. In a classroom, this page will be given and the text will be covered. Children will need to look at the picture and interpret it. So a teacher will ask, "What is Vincent doing here? Is he talking to Camille's father?" For this question, pupils should need to identify the palette that is in the foreground of the picture. They will then make connections that Vincent is painting a picture instead of talking to the person. The next question that the teacher can ask is, where was Camille? Why is she hiding behind the canvas? For this question, pupils will need to identify that Camille was behind the canvas. Why was she hiding? Pupils will need to make the connections or give different opinions. Some will say, oh, she is helping to support the canvas. Others will say, she's there so as not to disturb the artist's painting. Apart from following the questions in the guidelines, teacher may need to keep these questions on visual analysis in mind. This can be a guiding question pasted on the notice board where it is for pupils to refer to when they do big book reading. Apart from the questions given in the guidelines, these are the extra questions that will train pupils to make connections of the different elements in an image and think of the big idea. Another example is in this picture. Teacher will ask, what do you notice about the colors of this page? Pupils may answer, the characters in this page are black and white in color. Teacher will ask you, what happened to the pictures after Vincent finished painting? The pictures became colorful, replied the children. In this picture also, teachers can ask, what part of the day is it in the picture? Children will be able to infer from the picture and look at the colors. It is in the evening. Why do you say it's evening? Teacher will ask to comment on the colors. The orange skies and the orange sun look like it is setting. If it is in the morning, it will be bright yellowish. That is how children make connection. So for the next book, teacher will emphasize the following elements in the visuals and ask pupils to discuss and make connections. Teachers can touch on the size,